And I'm Tina. And this is the mini-series where we talk about the good, the bad, and the just plain wild TV finales.
This week we're going to be talking about How I Met Your Mother.
Last forever.
Okay, so as you can probably tell from that, we're starting with the good.
Oh, yeah, right. As anyone who has known me for more than 10 minutes knows, this is the TV finale that went back in time and destroyed an entire show that I loved.
It's kind of weird, right? Like, there are some shows that have bad endings where you can just rewatch and enjoy the good stuff.
I defend bad endings all the time, as you will hear on this miniseries. But not this one. No.
Yeah, it makes it kind of hard to watch, and How I Met Your Mother is very cleverly written, but also large swaths of it have not aged great.
Yeah, so I actually did not rewatch How I Met Your Mother after this finale aired 10 years ago. And I did a rewatch, something I said I would never do for this podcast, for this very podcast.
That's how much we love you.
And first of all, yeah, there's a lot of really problematic stuff, specifically like a lot of transphobic jokes.
I know, I think it's because Neil Patrick Harris came out, so they kind of had to cut the gay jokes kind of early in its run, and for some reason they decided to lean transphobic instead of just not doing that.
Yeah, they could have just not.
Because you forget, I mean, maybe you don't, but like, gay jokes were such a ubiquitous part of 90s comedy. What are you gay is basically Monica's catchphrase by the end of Friends. Like, and I always thought of Friends as a pretty progressive show because, you know, the whole lesbian ex-wife thing, but, like, there are a ton of gay jokes in Friends, like...
Yeah. Okay, but in addition to the problematic stuff, which I can't ignore that, it's in there.
Ted's the worst.
Ted is the worst. But in addition to that, it was really difficult to watch knowing how they were going to portray all of these characters, right? So I would be watching the part where I would, normally...
Lily and Marshall get out fine.
Yeah, but like watching Robin and Barney's romance start up, I would get really excited, like that exciting feeling in the pit of my stomach, and then I'd be like, fuck this show. Okay, but don't want to get too far into it before we kind of catch our listeners up if they are not familiar with the show.
All right.
So, just recap real fast. The IMDb summary of the show is: a father recounts to his children through a series of flashbacks the journey he and his 4 best friends took leading up to him meeting their mother. And just to kind of give you some, like, in-time context, the show started airing in 2005 and ended 10 years ago in 2014, just so we're all, like, aware of the timeline. But since IMDb is famously incomplete in what it tells us, we are going to do a thing that I have shamelessly ripped off of the podcast This Had Oscar Buzz.
All right.
And that is the 60-second recap. So in 60 seconds, Max is going to tell us what happened previously on How I Met Your Mother. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, I have 60 seconds on the clock. Go.
So, Ted and Robin dated on again, off again, until it was very permanently off again when Robin and Barney hooked up, unhooked up, and then rehooked up, but for good this time. Also, Lily and Marshall are married and there.
Okay, it only took you 15 seconds.
Oh, also, Tracy exists and is the best character in the show, introduced in the famously bad last season. She's the mother. I really feel like I didn't need to do the Tracy thing, but I had a lot of extra time.
Oh, you felt like you needed to include the mother in How I Met Your Mother? What a novel concept! Okay, I'm gonna fill in some gaps here, since unlike you, I did subject myself to rewatching the whole show before we got in here. Yeah, the whole thing is Ted thinks he's this hopelessly romantic who just, like, wants to find a wife. The whole thing kicks off when Marshall and Lily get engaged at the beginning of the show, and he's like, what am I doing with my life? My 2 best friends are getting married. But really, he just spends the whole show, wandering around, having lots of sex with lots of different women, which is fine if that's what you're into, but don't be like, I'm so ready to settle down and get married. And then, in the very first episode, he meets Robin, and he falls in love with her, but then that episode ends famously with, and that, kids, is How I Met Your Aunt Robin. We were told from the start that Robin was not the mother. That is very important. And then the last season, catastrophic mistake. The entire season takes place over a single weekend.
Such a bad idea.
The weekend that Barney and Robin are getting married. And honestly, the Barney and Robin romance it hits my heart so hard. Like,
well, Barney is your favorite kind of male love interest in TV shows, I guess.
The reformed blonde bad boy?
Yeah, Nathaniel from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. A third example.
Logan from Veronica Mars.
Yeah, Logan from Veronica Mars. See, you had the third example right there in your back pocket.
Spike from Buffy.
Arguably, yes.
No, you're right. Wow. I have a type. What do you know? I have a type.
You have a very, very specific type.
Does it concern you that my type, when it comes to fiction, is like the polar opposite of you?
You mean a blonde, rich asshole man?
Yeah, I don't think rich is necessary to that.
It is a part of a lot of them, though.
Okay, I don't care about that. It's TV. Everybody has as much money as they need on TV.
Yes. I'm not particularly worried.
Okay, good. So we knew from the lore that Ted met the mother, who is named Tracy, that Ted met the mother at the wedding. So, like I said, the entire last season is that wedding weekend. And man, there were some real bad episodes that dragged.
But the thing about it is, it would have been so easy to fumble the mother at this point. We get enough information about her over the course of 10 fucking years that it paints a very complete portrait of a very odd woman. And God, all credit to what's-her-face.
Kristen Milotti.
Kristen Milotti, yeah.
She came into a part that could have been like the most annoying, like, adorkable manic pixie dream girl, but instead she made her a real woman who you loved, who you knew was too good for Ted.
Oh, I wasn't afraid of that. I mean, yes, that is clearly the trap that How I Met Your Mother would fall in. Look at Ted. But I was afraid that they would make her the Dawn. Remember Dawn?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the stupid conceit of that episode is he a duck or a beaver? Beaver?
A duck or a rabbit, because of that.
A duck or a rabbit. And it occurred to me, as I was thinking about it, that's why his name is Don. It's Donald Duck.
Yeah, they make that joke.
It's been a while since I've watched the show. I am angry at that.
I think this is a good thing that you brought up, because
Boo Don.
This is a trap that shows that have bad finales can get into. Mm-hmm. And that is being tied to the ending that you thought was going to happen 10 years ago, instead of going where the story has organically gone.
When they introduce Don, he is very, very specifically set up to be Robin's endgame love interest, and then everyone hated him, so they pivoted away from that.
But what they didn't decide to pivot away from was what they decided to do in this episode.
Which, Jesus fucking Christ.
The show had gone in such a clearly different direction, but they were just tied in their hearts to the ending they had written.
And, like, I get it. You recorded footage for it 10 years ago. Everyone knows that you recorded footage for it 10 years ago. You think, maybe we should use that footage. People are expecting it. But, like, your show has changed so much. Just don't use the stupid footage and be like, yeah, sorry, things changed.
Yeah, before they started season 2, they filmed a sequence with the kids where they did the last scene of the show because the kids were aging. And they, that would be an issue if the show kept going, which it did.
Fun fact, one of the kids from the intro of the show, one of Ted's kids, is David Henry, who you might know as the older brother on Wizards of Waverly Place. I wouldn't personally because I've never seen that show, but that's what you might know that actor from. Should we actually get into it at this point?
Yeah, we've table set for 10 minutes. Let's get into it.
All right.
Now, as I was saying, the last episode ended with the actual exchange of vows between Barney and Robin, and it was awesome, and it was beautiful, and honestly, it would have been a fine place to end the episode.
Series.
The series, yes, thank you. It would have been a fine place to end the series. In fact, I was briefly thinking about putting together a curated list of how to watch How I Met Your Mother.
Like the Keenan cut of Frasier.
Exactly, where you just watch the episodes Joe Keenan wrote. And I was going to call my curated list How Barney met Robin and they got married and lived happily ever after and nothing else happens. I didn't do that, though, because it would have involved rewatching the show, and I wasn't willing to do that for, something I would post on Twitter, but I was willing to do it for you all, because as Max said, we love you.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to pivot just a little bit, just for a little side journey before we get into our main journey. Are you familiar with a game called The Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League?
A game?
A video game.
No, I'm not.
All right, so there's a video game that came out recently, and by recently I mean like half a year ago at this point, maybe.
Okay.
But it's called Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. It's been in production forever, and nobody thought this game would be good, and then it wasn't. But the thing is, it is technically a sequel game to the Arkham games.
Oh, those are really good.
It's done by the same company. It's set in the same universe. And people were really pissed that game series ended on Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. Like, because people really like the Arkham games, and being like, oh yeah, and then Batman got brainwashed by Brainiac and Harley Quinn had to shoot him a whole bunch in the face. And also, it's one of the last Kevin Conroy performances before he died.
Ooh, that's rough.
Which is not on them. The game was in production for so long, but it really sat poorly with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the game was a, like, Fortnite-style shooter with, like, loot boxes and stuff. People hated it. It has, like, 6 months off of launch. 400 people playing it.
Oh, that is...
Yeah.
Oh.
It sold horribly, and now nobody is playing it because it's one of those things where...
I think there are more people still playing that online Sims game that fizzled out like 20 years ago.
Yeah. So, the moral to this story is, maybe don't do shitty endings for stuff.
Yeah, that is definitely the moral. So, the episode opens with a flashback to September 2005, which is, as I said, where the show started. So, we see the four main characters, Ted, Barney, Robin, and...
Lily and Marshall.
5 main characters.
Yeah.
I threw myself. We see the 5 main characters, Barney and Robin, Ted, Marshall and Lily, at the bar that they're at all the time, McLaren's.
Everyone's wearing wigs of varying quality for their first season hair.
Oh, yeah. It's weird because I don't think of Robin as having changed her hair that much, but her wig is the worst of the bunch.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it's in that uncanny valley where it needed the least amount.
Barney should have more hair than he did. I feel like they didn't want to insult him by being like, you have lost so much hair since the first season of this show. Because, like, he used to have, like, kind of a page boy thing going on in the early seasons, and they just kind of give him a little bangs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I feel like there might have been some ego massaging on this front.
Yeah.
Although, God, Allison Hannigan's wig is some pretty rough stuff, too. Lily
It's
had
better than Robin's.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that's because we're so used to Allison Hannigan's character, Lily. She just changed her hair whenever Allison Hannigan felt like it.
Which is... The thing is, like, that is a natural thing and it's cool to do, but it must be so hard when you have a show whose whole gimmick is playing with time.
So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I was going to say, we mentioned that obviously he's telling the story in 2030 and flashing back to 2005 to tell the story of how he met their mother. But we didn't mention how cool this show is with how it plays with time sometimes. This episode...
Not this time.
No, not this time. This episode opens in 2005, and it's, the moment when they really became friends with Robin. A moment that we didn't see back in 2005. This isn't a clip, obviously, because we're talking about the bad wigs. But, Robin says she doesn't have any friends in town. She's new in town. Lily says that she's officially part of their gang now. And then when Robin goes to get another round of drinks, Lily's like, I like her. I want her to stay in our group. No one can sleep with her unless you're going to marry her. So that then we can smash cut to the wedding. It's kind of cute.
It is kind of cute. Although it just reminds me of, like, a much worse version of the episode of Lower Decks with Tendy's cave memory.
Yeah.
Where they all get stuck in the lift and it's the moment they all become friends.
Yeah. That came 10 years later, but you're right, was much better.
Oh, I think that came like 20 years later.
Was this episode aired in 2014?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, How I Met Your Mother went on longer than I thought it did.
It went for 9 seasons.
I guess I thought it started earlier.
It started in 2005 and went for 9 seasons.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
That is how time works.
Oh, since you mentioned that, Lower Decks, we had talked briefly about how I wanted to push us to do Welcome to Breakbills.
Mm-hmm.
We have a rule at this podcast. We only talk about TV shows that have completely ended so that we don't have to deal with shit like the finale going back in time and ruining the show for us.
Yes.
And by the time we're ready to do a new show, Lower Decks will have ended.
Oh.
Because they just announced they're doing their last season.
I know. I'm torn because on one hand, I love Lower Decks so much.
We're going to get 5 solid seasons, and isn't it better to, like, go out on a high like they are than to do the shit that we're about to talk about? Pivot!
Yes. Yes.
Look at that segue.
Excellent. Good Ross Gellering there.
Those two words don't go in the same sentence together.
I'm sorry, but it's the law of the universe. You can't say pivot without it being a reference to Friends.
So we are at the reception of the wedding. Barney and Robin are dancing together, and Ted is kind of melancholy at the table with Barney and Lily because he has just taken a job in Chicago. This is a New York set show. He's just taken a job in Chicago, and he's leaving the next morning and, will be out of his friends' lives.
Yeah, he has a busy job to do. He needs to go over to Happy Endings and be one of Penny's guys of the week.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, do you think he would die?
In Happy Endings, he would be the Frank Grimes of Happy Endings. Like, he wouldn't be able to hang with that gang and they would just destroy him.
Yeah, I don't see Ted not marrying Penny because the two of them would be a good couple in a very bad way, or a bad couple in a very good way, I guess. The two of them have sinking personality issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I think and of course we know the law of the universe is that Penny Hearts cannot get married. R.I.P. Pete. But yeah, I think they would have to kill Ted to kill that relationship.
So there's an episode, a later season episode, so I'm sure you don't remember it,
Mm-hmm.
where Robin and Barney are going out for a big dinner before their wedding weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a really annoying couple at the restaurant, so they decide that they're going to ruin that couple. Like, that's the fun thing they're going to do together.
Wasn't one of them Keegan-Michael Key?
And the other was Casey Wilson,
Yeah.
who is Penny Hearts from Happy Ending.
Yeah.
I like to think that actually was Penny Hearts, that she was, like, in New York at that time, but then she moves back to Chicago.
Yeah. Like how Max was briefly in New York and had to fake his own death to get out.
Yes.
God, Happy Endings is such a good show.
Speaking of people who you saw briefly and then they became a major part of your life, Ted sees the mother who he has had just missed encounters with throughout the show. But he sees the mother on stage because she is the bass player in the band that is playing at Robin and Barney's wedding.
I want to point out that the mother in this show is literally that character from 30 Rock that's played by Zelina from Once Upon a Time. The virgin nymphomaniac widow who approaches Jack to have sex because it's been 10 years since her husband died.
Yeah, she does manage to skirt that virgin whore dichotomy line perfectly, which is, as you say, the impossible task that they had set for her with Ted being the way he is.
Yeah.
When you said that character from 30 Rock, you confused me because, of course, Kristen Milotti does guest star very notably on 30 Rock.
TGS Hates Women.
In the episode TGS Hates Women.
It's true. I'm a very sexy baby. She's amazing.
I was going to say maybe we'll talk about her next week when we talk about the 30 Rock finale, but we won't because I don't know, maybe we will. Who knows what kind of tangents we're going to get off on when we're talking about 30 Rock.
He was electrocuted when he was watching the movie Seven. God, Kristen Milotti is a gift.
She really is.
Watch Palm Springs. It's so good.
It is. Maybe we should do a podcast where we talk about TV shows that got canceled too soon that, like, no one else really watched, because my Roman Empire is the TV show A to Z. starring Kristen Milotti and Jonah from Superstore in like a romantic comedy that was just so well written and it was amazing.
I think you've mentioned that show on every single one of our podcasts.
I want someone to make it available somewhere. I can't even watch it anywhere. You can't buy it on DVD. It's not streaming anywhere.
Have you checked YouTube?
I can't find a slime tutorial of it.
Mm.
Yeah, no. So the mother, though, in this season where the entire season was the wedding weekend.
To sort of expand on the whole virgin nymphomaniac widow thing, just briefly, if you don't mind.
Please.
So Tracy, the mother, she was engaged or she got married.
She was married.
She was married very young.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. No, she was not married yet. She was only engaged. Yes.
Yeah, she was engaged to this guy when they were both very young. She was deeply, deeply in love with him, and he died, cancer, something.
It was a car accident. Actually, I'm not certain that they tell us it was a car accident, but it was sudden because she was like at her party waiting for him to show up, and then she got the call that he had been killed.
Yeah, so
I'm not sure they ever told us it was a car accident, but that's what I always imagined.
Yeah. So, like Pam from Full House.
Yes.
Right? We're pretty sure it was a car accident.
They do tell us in later seasons that she was hit by a drunk driver because there's then DJ has a moment about drinking.
God. Ugh. I know I haven't told you girls how your mom died because I was saving it so it could be a life lesson.
Oh, I was thinking about How I Met Your Mother, but how your mother died.
Yeah.
Interesting parallel here in How I Met Your Mother. Ted's voiceover, the narrator who is future Ted telling the story in narration.
It's Stanley from The Office.
No. It's Bob Saget.
Yeah. I was making a joke.
I know you were making a Threat Level Midnight joke.
Yes.
Yeah. But then I thought maybe you didn't know that it actually was Bob Saget.
No, I did.
Okay.
Which, weird, because Ted's an adult man, so... They should have had it be Fred Savage. That would have been funny.
Yes! Like a Princess Bride meta moment.
Yeah.
They did do a couple meta moments in this show. There's Dave Coulier has a cameo, and the voiceover is like, I love that guy.
I feel like you're kind of obligated to do that sort of thing. I'm surprised they didn't shove Stamos in there somewhere.
Well, they had to do a Dave Coulier cameo because Robin, we find out, is basically Alanis Morissette. She was a pop star in Canada.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like Robin Sparkles had diminishing returns after Sandcastles in the Sand. I'm sorry, I don't like Robin Daggers. Having
just rewatched that episode, yeah, it's not good.
Yeah,
when it happened, I was so excited for a new Robin Sparkles episode, but P.S. I Love You is P.S. I Love You is no Let's Go to the Mall.
I will stand up for Sandcastles in the Sand.
No, I love Sandcastles in the Sand.
But the whole point of Robin's pop career is that she was never very big. She had a minor hit, which she had to sing in malls, and then her follow-up famously flopped.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you, man. You were saying about the mother, though. Her fiancé died.
Oh, yeah, her fiancé died, and she's been in mourning for him for the past decade. So you have a reason why the mother hasn't really had sex with that many people.
Oh, she does have a serious relationship right before she gets to the wedding, though. They break up that weekend.
But, contrast with Ted.
Yeah.
Who has had sex
Who has just, boned his way through New York City. In fact, there's another way this show played with time really well. There's an episode called Double Date, where Ted goes out on a date with a woman, a blind date, and he realizes that he went on a blind date with her 5 years before that episode. And then the episode is going back and forth, the two dates.
Yeah. Is that the one where the punchline is that she knows Krav Maga because he broke up with her on Valentine's Day 2 times in a row?
No, that's a different episode.
Yeah.
No, this one is just they're trying to figure out why they didn't get together, why the timing was off the first time, so they recreate, when they both realize, they're like, oh my god, we've lapped New York, we've gone through, we've dated everyone, and now we're cycling back again. And they kind of go through the first date to see what went wrong, and,
Oh my god, we're 26 minutes into recording, and we're 3 seconds into the episode.
I kind of feel like these episodes are going to be more this than recap, so.
Yeah. So, So let's get back into
Oh, so I was gonna
Oh.
say about the mother before you did.
Yeah.
What we've seen this weekend is she's had her little side adventure with every character other than Ted.
She's Zuko. She's Zuko in the last season of Airbender, which, okay, little side tangent. But I remember Zuko being with the group way longer than he was. Like, he has basically a one-on-one adventure with every member of the gang, except for Toph, and then it's the finale.
Yeah.
Like, he is barely a part of the group. But the fact of the matter is, there are, like, 4 killer one-on-one episodes with him, and then Ember Island players. Like, he feels so well established because of how hard each one of those episodes hits.
Mm-hmm.
The prison break, oh, it's so good. And Katara finding her mother's killer.
Yes.
And to a lesser degree, Aang's firebending, which is fine.
They do the dragon dance.
I guess it's only 3 episodes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 3 episodes, and then Ember Island players, and then the...
Mm-hmm. But the mother has had a life-changing episode with everybody this season, including with Barney, where she ran into him at a drugstore and saw how sad he was and convinced him that he needed to stop fucking around and settle down with the person he wanted to be with. And that conversation with her is what inspired him to, like, sit down and really focus on winning Robin back, which he did.
With the ultimate play from the playbook.
Yes.
So this scene has a lot of... It's everyone, you know, hanging out kind of after the wedding. Barney gathers up the crew. He's going to set up Ted with the bass player.
When he sees that she's the bass player, he remembers her from running into her at the drugstore. He's like, hey, bass player, it's me, the guy from the drugstore. Which I feel like I wouldn't remember that person. But anyway, especially in like a totally different context, like being the bass player at the wedding.
Yeah.
But he also remembers that when he had the conversation with her, she was like a hopeless romantic who just wanted to like settle down and get married and was kind of weird and did like weird nerdy shit. He's like, oh my god, I have to set you up with Ted right this second.
Yeah. And Ted's like, no, I'm too schmoopy and David Schwimmery to give love another chance.
Well, it's because he's leaving.
I'm Phoebe Hollowell. I've given up on love.
Well, he's leaving town the next day to go to Chicago, remember?
Yeah. So he can get with Penny Hartz and then die.
Yeah. So Barney admits defeat. He's not going to get Ted together with the mother, but they do all have to go out on the balcony and have their long, sad goodbyes.
Oh my god, this is like death.
This scene goes on for so long and is completely undercut by what comes later. And I know that that's what they thought was funny about it, but it's just so fucking long. Like, every character gets this super sappy goodbye that doesn't land. And that's the thing, right? Like, long sappy goodbyes are fine, but this one just really does not land.
I don't know. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, you know. Oh, Scarecrow, I'll miss you most of all. Bam. Get the emotion there and then leave. But also, I get it's different when you've been in the show for 10 years, but I found a lot of the catchphrase stuff really, really, really irritating on this rewatch. Like,
Whoa, you just rewatched this episode.
Yeah, so I wasn't inundated with 10 years of building up all of these jokes. It reminded me of what it would be like to go back in time and hang out with myself and my friend group in college.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed it a lot at the time. I think I would find it insufferable now. And I think it's sad that these people have been out of college for 10 years and they're still doing this shit.
Okay. So, the show covers that.
Yes.
There's a whole episode about how you kind of revert back to the person you were.
Yes, Revertigo.
Yes. When you're with like somebody from high school or someone from college. But also...
That Lily joke is unfortunate.
Yes. Also, other than the problematic parts of the show, I will say the writing really holds up when you rewatch it. But not this episode. Like, if this was the only episode you'd watched, you would save yourself several hours because you wouldn't watch any of the rest of it. But you would also think, damn, this show sucked! And you would be right because this episode went back in time and destroyed the rest of the show. But...
I mean, what have we learned from Kevin O'Leary on Shark Tank?
Yeah, Kevin O'Leary?
What have we learned from Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank?
Nothing.
No, catchphrases are stupid and they make people hate you.
I mean, that's not why we hate him.
No, but it didn't help.
Okay.
Like, I'm glad that they told him to stop that because, like,
You don't know they told him to stop it. He just slowed it down.
no, he, like, dropped it. Every episode he was like, and that's the slippery dinks.
Like, he was seriously just trying to make fetch happen for so long.
It was painful. Also, you are a rich man. You are a murderer. You can swear like a big boy. Why are you, a man in your, 70s, saying poo-poo? Oh my god, be an adult!
And it's not even an ABC mandate because Mark Cuban says shit all the time. They just bleep it.
Yeah. And people like Mark Cuban.
I do. Mark Cuban's like the only billionaire I won't eat.
Yeah. Like,
I'll just like nibble on him a little.
Oh my. Say the real words, though. I'm sorry, that's completely off
that was quite a tangent. All right, so we find out that Ted has been Forrest Gumping this. He's sitting on a bus waiting for the train to take him back to New York City, and he's been telling an old woman at the train stop, like, this whole story. And she's like, oh, you should have gone after the girl. And he's like, no, I'm going to Chicago. I gotta do that. And the old woman's like, but what if she was supposed to be your wife? And Ted's like, no, I have to go. And she's like, okay, but what if she's standing right over there right now? Would you go talk to her? And he's like, I guess. And she's like, ha, I tricked you. I tricked you with my slippery words.
Oh no, she's behind me, isn't she? No, I'm in front of you.
So speaking of letting jokes.
The finale of How I Met Your Mother.
But specifically, like I was saying, this is where they try to make the whole long goodbye thing a joke. He goes from going up to the mother to a cut to the bar the next day where they all hang out. And Marshall and Lily walk into the bar and they're both really sad because Ted is gone now and they don't know what they're going to do without Ted. And then they see that he is sitting at his normal spot in the bar. And they're like, what are you doing? Why aren't you in Chicago? And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to go to Chicago. I'm going to stay here and chase a girl. And they're like, stop chasing random women! And he's like, but I'm chasing the mother, that bass player that you both had exciting adventures with over this last weekend. And they're like, yes, do that.
Okay, that's the other thing about this. Like, the fumble of this sort of thing is a narrative telling us that everyone can just sense that two characters are right together. This almost always, goes horribly wrong and makes the audience hate the character. I'm going to bring up an example from comic books because I'm a nerd. There is a love interest after Peter Parker sold his wife to the devil because comics. There was a love interest after Mary Jane called Carly Cooper.
I don't even know who that is.
Oh. She was Spider-Man's big girlfriend for about 3 or 4 years.
Uh-huh.
And everyone was constantly talking about what a great couple they were. Mary Jane was like, I could never make him happy like she can. She's so much smarter than me. And she's super pretty too. But nobody knows it. Like,
oh my god, she's a pretty girl who doesn't know she's pretty?
She's a pretty girl who doesn't know she's pretty because she wears glasses and is brunette.
And she has paint on her overalls!
Seriously, that was this character. And she was built up as, like, the perfect girl for Peter. Like, they're like, she's at the sweetness and light of Gwen Stacy, but the snark of Mary Jane, and she's smart, and she blah, blah, blah. And people hated her. People hated Carly Cooper so much. Like, this character was widely beloathed.
Beloathed? Oh.
Yeah.
Did you just come up with that?
I feel like I did, but I probably didn't.
Okay, I like it though.
Yeah.
This...
But that's not what happened with the mother, despite everyone being like, oh my god, she's the perfect woman for Ted. Which she's not because she's way too good for Ted. I guess would the perfect person for somebody be better than that person?
Ooh, she's more than he deserves. Even, like, ooh. She's everything he could want and nothing he deserves. Yeah. That's a good question. But, yeah, no, the audience loved her. And the audience really did love her. I think that's one of many reasons that this finale was so poorly received. So, I'm emphasizing that before this finale, the show was good.
Yes.
And, like...
even this season, which isn't great, has its moments.
Yeah, this season was... I mean, it's no Buffy season 7 where I rewatched it and rethought everything I thought. But it did have a lot of solid episodes. It had some real stinkers. And no other season had any episode that was this bad as this season did. But Whew.
Is this the season where Sherry Shepherd teams up with Marshall? Because I remember
Yes.
liking that subplot.
Yes, yes. This is also the episode that has the infamous fairy tales episode, though, nursery rhymes episode.
Where Lin-Manuel Miranda raps?
Yes. Yeah.
Was he a guy at this point?
Nope.
Okay, so they were like, hey, we need a rapping guy.
He was the rapping guy.
Let's call a random man out of the audience, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Well, I mean, he'd already done In the Heights. He was a guy.
Oh,
but
so
he
was
wasn't
a guy, but he wasn't the guy he became. People turned on him so hard.
because I don't know. I think he's genuine, but that reads as cringe to the Gen Zers.
Also, I think his dad's rich or something. And
Ugh. Anyway, this episode is doing a lot of like, I will never wear that sweater. Smash cut to him wearing the sweater, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we see Ted again on the bench with the old woman.
I'll never go to Chicago and, not marry a lady and have 2 kids with her and then totally fuck everything up in the last episode for no reason.
He actually says that he'll never have a giant wedding because he's too old for a giant wedding. And then we cut to 2015 where apparently now Ted and Tracy are engaged and he's planning a massive wedding at a French castle. They're coming in on a hot air balloon. He's basically spending like a massive, massive amount of money on this wedding.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Barney and Robin are clearly having issues. Robin's career has taken off. She's all over the world, and Barney isn't.
He's just the guy who tags along with her, and that's clearly rubbing him the wrong way. She's like...
I thought this was the part where he was trying staying at home, and they were doing long distance, and then later they tried the other way.
Oh, you're right. You're right. We're still at the part where he's in New York all the time without her while she's traveling the world. And are we going to just call her the mother all episode instead of Tracy?
I feel like I've been going back and forth on calling her the mother and Tracy.
Well, you know what? I'm going to call her the mother for this because she comes in and tells Ted they can't get married on the day they were planning to get married because it turns out she's pregnant and she's going to be like 8 months pregnant on the day they were planning to get married.
Okay, one of the things I do like about this episode, do Ted and the mother end up getting married?
Yeah, they do.
Oh.
But only after she's had 2 kids.
Okay. Oh yeah, because he reproposes. One of the things I really like is how long they're together without being married, because being married has been so much, wanting to be married has been so much a part of Ted's character for the entire show. I really like the fact that when he gets together with Tracy, it takes them a really long time to get married, and they have like a whole life before then.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we've just come off a whole season spent on a wedding, and with Ted and Tracy, the emphasis is it wasn't about getting to the wedding, it was about the life they lived together.
Yeah.
Look how beautiful that could have been if they had stuck the landing.
Seriously, the thing about it is, despite how bad we're talking about the finale, and honestly how much a lot of the stuff makes me cringe because I watched it without, again, marinating in it for 10 years, recently.
Right.
But the thing about it is, if they had just changed the last 2 scenes a little bit, it would have, like...
Oh, hang on, we're going to talk about that.
Because the thing is, this episode spans a lot of time, and I like the fact that the friend group does what friend groups do in real life. Everyone naturally drifts off, they have their own separate lives, and you lose touch with the people who are most important to you.
Okay, we're going to get into that more later on in this episode, because that is something that really happens in this episode. And
in real life.
No, that's the thing, right? That's the argument people make when they're defending this episode. They're like, that's how it is. These people are so important in your life in your 20s and your 30s, and then like you get married, you have kids take up all of your time. You drift away from your friends. You see them like once or twice a year. And that's the thing, right? They still see each other once or twice a year. The show is careful to emphasize. It's just...
There's a reason Ted's kids call everyone aunt and uncle. Except the Robin thing doesn't really make a lot of sense here, does it?
But they used to... Well, presumably she's been back in New York for 6 years by its time it's 2030.
I feel like you get locked in aunt or uncle during the first few years of a child's life, but okay.
So, yeah, you're right. That is how it is in real life. But I don't want that on TV. I mean, not I don't want that on TV like I'm some moral crusader, but like that's not the feeling I want. I think a lot about the issue of Sandman with when the Corinthian is killing everyone in that diner.
Okay.
And there's a woman there who's a writer, and she's written all of these books, but she's never published any of them. R.I.P. that woman. She would have loved Kindle Unlimited. But they say the narrator says her stories are great because she always knows when to end them. Because here is where the happy ending is. This is the end. If we go any further in the story, it stops being a happy ending. And that's what's happening here. Like, I don't want that. I want the, like... Well, honestly, I want the ending that we're going to talk about when we're done, the alternate ending that they put on the DVD. That's a million times better!
That's also a thing in the Terry Pratchett book, the Witches one, the one with the fairy tales.
Lords and Ladies.
Witches Abroad.
Oh, with the fairy tales, not with the fairies.
Yeah. Yeah, in Witches Abroad, Granny Weatherrocks talks about that too. How you can't have a happy ending because eventually life goes on and then life ends. She says the only way to make sure that a couple lives in perfect wedded bliss for the rest of their lives is to decapitate them at the end of the wedding.
BoJack Horseman says that in Free Churro, right? That the reason we love sitcoms is because they end at the right moment. All these people knew this to be true, but not How I Met Your Mother. Oh no, not them. They're too good for that. They have to show us something important, like...
To be fair, this is the thing with a lot of sitcoms. Friends ends with the friend group separating.
Mary Tyler Moore ends with the same thing.
After a dog shit last season.
Talk about... Oh, the last season?
Yeah, I mean, the episode also sucks, but...
I know, talk about saying goodbye too long. Oh my god.
It's so bad. They have that one episode where everyone fantasizes about what it would be like to be married to Mary, and then there's that other episode where they lose power, and the whole episode is just people talking in the dark.
Oh, I thought you... Yeah, the last season is rough, but I also thought you meant just the last episode where they have, like... The last beat of the episode is... It's funny that it's a group hug that goes on way, way too long, but it's not funny, it's just way, way too long. So we jump a year later in How I Met Your Mother. Now it's 2016, and they're all meeting up at Ted's house, and it's clear that they haven't seen each other in a long time, but they're making time to be together. Mm-hmm. And Robin and Barney just casually drop that they got divorced. They were fighting too much. She was always on the road. He couldn't stand being with her. Like, he
couldn't stand being with or without her.
Yeah.
Like, either he was tagging along and just waiting in hotel rooms for her to be done with her job, or he was waiting at home for her to be done with her job.
Now, two things. This always bothered me at the time because it felt fake to me. It didn't feel true to Barney's character that he wouldn't be able to find an adventure traveling the world with Robin. That is Barney...
Like, he would love that. A new city every week.
Also, Barney made an adventure everywhere he went. There was famously a first season episode where he was trying to have, like, an epic night, and he ended up in Philadelphia, and, like, it was a joke how boring everything was, so he decided they had to do something to make it epic, so they broke into the national park, and they licked the Liberty Bell.
Yeah.
Like, he made an adventure everywhere he went. He would have made an adventure out here. The idea that he would be dissatisfied does not ring true to me. At all. At all. But you pointed out when we were watching this time that they decide that they love each other, but they don't work as a couple, and their marriage didn't fail. They concluded a successful 2-year marriage, and they're still best friends, and now they're just not married, even though they still love each other. And that's an interesting thing you don't see, so I will give it credit for that. Yeah. Everybody's worried when they say that they got divorced that the friend group is going to fall apart now, and they're like, no, we're still friends. We still love each other. Our lives didn't work out that way, so now we're divorced.
They are, of course, lying, though, because we will be seeing Robin less and less, much to Lily's chagrin, because Lily says, oh, well, it's going to be sad because we're all going to lose Barney, because clearly we're all taking Robin's side in this divorce. But nope, you end up stuck with Barney and his terrible little subplot.
it turns out that Robin is the Phoebe who just lifts right out.
Yeah. Well, last hired, first fired, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. We also discovered that Lily is pregnant for the third time. So this is their third baby is now due because life is continuing on.
Yes.
You know, I think this might be a good time for me to point out what they should have done on this show.
Had Lily and Marshall get divorced, because that would have shocked everyone.
It would have. No, there's so much time jumping crammed into this episode because they wanted to be like, quick, here's what happened to everybody for the next 20 years. But it didn't feel organic because it was like, Barney and Robin got married and were deeply in love less than 20 minutes ago, and now they're divorced. It just doesn't feel natural. Maybe if they wanted to jump ahead 20 years and show us where everyone was, they should have done that for the whole last season instead of having the last season be a single weekend. Throwing that out there.
Yeah, that probably would have been the thing to do.
So we jump to Lily and Marshall. Lily is fully pregnant because it's about 8 months later, and
Marshall hates his job again because they only ever give Marshall one plot on this show.
he wants to be doing good. He wants to be doing environmental law and saving the world, but they need money, so he keeps having to take soulless corporate jobs.
Yeah, and now he's going to be stuck even longer because Lily is about to have yet another baby.
But they decide that a 2-bedroom apartment in New York City is officially too small for 2 adults and 3 babies. So they are selling the apartment that was Ted and Marshall's apartment, and Robin's lived there, Lily lived there, and, you know, this is the friend's apartment being sold.
Yeah, Ross lived there that one summer. He tried to be a professional dancer.
Exactly.
How did we make it almost 10 years without that coming up once?
So it is
I could see David Schwimmer being good at ballet.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like, people forget how yoked he was in Friends. Like, Ross is such an awful schmoopy guy, but, like, occasionally he would have his shirt off, and you're like, Jesus Christ, David Schwimmer's got arms.
Oh, the episode where he takes the Frankie Says Relax shirt back from Rachel, and it's super tiny on him?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about the episode with the tanning machine, where it's like, wow, Ross is surprisingly ripped.
Yeah.
It's probably a John Kirkowski thing, right? Because isn't he, like, in Men's Fitness all the time because he's secretly yoked in real life? Krasinski.
I think he...
Emily Blunt's husband.
Well, he's Jack Ryan on the Amazon series.
The man who changed his government... He's in a different branch of the military in literally every adaptation of that series. How is that possible?
I don't know. I've watched none of it. Not even... No, that's not true. I have seen Hunt for Red October. Other than that, I've seen none of it.
Because of how much you love Sean Connery.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's dead, so it's okay to fantasize about him, but you know who's a very violent man in real life?
Yes, no, I know. He was a bad human. I get it. Cancel Sean Connery.
I think God already took care of that.
So, they're having a Halloween party at the apartment to kind of have the last hurrah, and... We get the sad, empty apartment shot that you absolutely have to have in sitcoms.
Yeah, and the thing that you have to do, you know, in real life when you leave a place because of sitcoms.
Yeah, when I moved out of the basement apartment I was in, you and I stood there in the empty apartment. We're like, wow, goodbye apartment. And then we moved across town into this house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get the Robin standing in the empty apartment scene, and she's gonna slip out and leave because she doesn't want to watch Barney hitting on women all night. And Lily comes down and confronts her and is like, hey, I thought you were my best friend, but you can't even be in the same room with Barney. And now I never see you anymore. And Robin's like, yeah, it sucks. And Lily cries, and the end, to be continued. And I get that it was like a 1 hour long episode, so it's not like it ended here at the end of a week or something, but I mean, come on.
Seriously?
Come on,
yeah,
show.
Come on.
The all is lost moment.
You know what got good? American Dad.
Yeah, it did. If it ever ends, we definitely need to do it on this podcast. So, we jump ahead to 2018. Everyone is at the bar, and Barney is ready and excited to have a old school, all-night night out, legendary night out, but everyone else is parents now, so they're like, no, Barney, or not Robin, but Marshall and Lily, and Ted and the mother are parents now. They're like, no, we'll have a drink till 11 and then we gotta go home.
Yeah, which, it's true. Like, our kid is older now. She's not a baby anymore. She's not a toddler. She's a kid. But even then, it is so hard to get out of the house.
Yeah, it really is. I feel like in the 80s, parents went out all the time, but that's not our reality.
Yeah.
We want to hang out with you, but come over here because we can't go out.
Yeah.
Any of our real life friends listening. This
Yeah.
is not a general invitation.
Yes. If you do not know us in real life, please don't come over.
Yeah.
No offense. We do love you, but in a, fun parasocial way, not in a not in a way like that kid who like figured out where Piers Anthony lived
Yeah.
and then like went to his farm.
Yeah. There's a great This American Life episode about that.
I know, I've listened to it. It's, I think, the only episode of This American... That's not true. My parents are NPR liberals. I've heard a lot of NPR.
Surely I've played you the television episode.
It's entirely possible. I don't like this phrase, but I consume a lot of media. It's entirely possible you did.
Oh, you know what? We're going on a road trip to the coast next month. I'm going to and reception gets spotty, so if you're streaming stuff, it gets bad. So I'm going to download that episode from when reception gets spotty for you to listen to. It's like my favorite This American Life episode.
We're not going to do our normal thing we do on road trips, where we try to figure out what songs are going to make it into the Wicked movie and which are going to be cut, which apparently should be none of them because they split it in two.
Yeah, I can't talk about the Wicked movie because they split it in two.
And yet we've mentioned it on every podcast we've done. But why would you make it two movies? It's not going to be good.
You could watch Ride the Cyclone before we go on our road trip, and then we could talk about how we would Dreamcast the movie of it.
That sounds really, really depressing. It's the inverse of an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, which means it's about people begging not to be dead anymore.
That's literally what it's about. I feel like you said that in a jokey tone. That's literally what it's about.
No, that's how you described it to me, and that's the plot of it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's surprisingly funny in some parts.
Okay.
And the songs are all great. Anyway, Marshall comes in. He's not a corporate lawyer anymore. Now he is a judge, so yay, things are going to be better. All right, so we jump ahead to 2019, and they're at Robots versus Wrestling. And, okay, this I feel like was really important.
It's where we got Mexican wrestler Ted.
We did in the episode Robots versus Wrestling before.
Wrestlers.
Robots versus Wrestlers, thank you. But that's not what's important. So there is an early episode called Robots versus Wrestlers where they go to the Robots versus Wrestlers match, and they promise they're going to come to it every year together as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have an episode called The Time Travelers where Ted is talking with everyone about going to see Robots versus Wrestlers, and then there's like the reveal at the end of the episode that he's all alone because Marshall and Lily are dealing with the baby, and Robin and Barney are off doing their thing. And he's all alone with no robots, nobody to go to Robots versus Wrestlers with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the episode that I thought did a good job of touching on the your friends still love you, but everybody's got their own life thing that this episode was trying to hammer home, especially because this episode wanted to undercut it by being like, it's okay, other years in the future everyone still goes. It's just that one year Ted was super sad.
Yeah.
And Barney is upset because he has just found out that he may have impregnated someone.
Yeah, now he can't celebrate Not a Father's Day anymore.
Yeah,
See, I remember stuff from the show.
He's gonna be a dad.
Did we skip over it? Did we skip over the thing where he was talking about the thing he would never say about, like, true love? And it's the worst. It's something he says that's so clearly just there so it can be echoed later, where he's like, I would never look someone deep in the eyes and tell them, I love you more than anything. I would give everything I had to you, blah, blah, blah. And then later when he's, spoiler alert, holding his daughter, he says the thing. And I'm like, well, that would have been a touching moment if it hadn't been the most clearly foreshadowed thing in the fucking universe. Also, I hate this plot. It is so easy to get me, with dad stuff since our kid was born. I can't watch the Bob's Burgers episode Hawk and Chick without crying. I have watched I've watched the Lisa the Greek episode of The Simpsons 1,000 times since our daughter was born. This lands for me so hard.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. You know, we talk about how so much of this episode could have been saved if they had just excised the last few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I would also want them to excise the entire, wait, no, Barney has a daughter and now he's a good person plot. Especially because, look.
It is ragingly, it's so sexist that the thing that gets him to, sorry, I shouldn't interrupt you, we're talking about sexism.
No, it's the misogynistic trope where it's like when a guy has a daughter, all of a sudden he's like, wait, women are people?
I never realized women were people until I created a person I can't have sex with.
Gross.
That's the whole undercurrent of that, though, right?
And here's the thing, Barney's whole characterization was that he was a womanizer and a terrible human. And the point was that he became better because he loved Robin. And even...
The woman who is like a man.
Okay, Robin is the cool girl who can hang, it's true. But it's not that
she smokes cigars. Her dad raised her as a boy. God, what is it with this show and gender?
There's a lot going on. But the episode where the mother actually meets Barney for the first time and tells him to get his shit together and everything is an episode where he gets really excited by Lily and Robin giving him challenges all night. Challenges like, go pick up a girl only making dolphin sounds, or go pick up a girl without using the letter E. And
classic Simpsons bit. Yeah.
And he doesn't care about actually sleeping with any of these women. He gets their numbers, right? That's the whole thing. And it's clearly that he likes being challenged and that he's happy with Robin because it's not about being a womanizer. It's about being with somebody who is up for as much adventure as he is, which Robin is, which is why it's ridiculous that her being a world traveler is the thing that tore them apart. What is this show even doing? Speaking of Robin, it's 2020. And I can't blame the finale for this, but no one's wearing masks, no one's social distancing, everyone's just mixing it up. I can't blame the show for that. Anyway, it's 2020.
Hey. Plagues happen every 100 years.
They should have known.
Basic math.
Yeah, so Ted...
Time is a flat circle, history repeats itself.
Ted runs into Robin on the street with his, 5-year-old daughter, and clearly it's been so long that she's even like, oh, right, you're the woman we watch on the TV. Like you said, not Aunt Robin.
Yeah. And they have a little moment where Ted's like, boy, Robin sure would be a good stepmom if anything ever happened to my current wife.
Oh, let's not even. Anyway, then we go to the delivery room where the woman who we... God, you want to talk about the misogyny of this. They're even very careful that we never see the woman, right? Because they don't want to make that an issue. So we never see the woman that Barney impregnated.
Yeah.
Just him with the daughter.
I thought you were going to talk about the fact that a lot of the women in this show don't have names. Like the mother and I think this woman.
This woman does not have a name. They specifically do not give her a name. I don't have a problem with the mother the mother does have a name. It's Tracy.
But it's not stated in the show. Except for the one time it was.
So, I don't have an issue with that, because the whole thing in the show was, at any moment, any of Ted's long-term girlfriends could be the mother.
Yeah.
So they didn't give her a name. Because, maybe it's Zoe, maybe it's Victoria, maybe it's one of these women that he's dating.
I'm sad that you led with Zoe, because I was going to say, what if it's Emma from Once Upon a Time, but that was literally the first one that you, yeah. So... in the last season, when you know who the woman is, and she has her own running subplot, you could give her a name then.
Okay, I'm going to tell you why I'm glad that they didn't give her a name until literally the very last scene of the show.
Okay.
And why I'm glad that it was Tracy.
Okay, because then her name is TM, like the mother.
Her name is TM, like the mother. But no, there's a scene in the first season where Ted is at a strip club. And he is...
yeah, the Tracy thing.
I'm telling them.
Oh, okay.
They don't know.
Okay.
And, they might know. Who knows? Anyway, I'm telling them anyway. You can skip ahead if you already know. Don't skip ahead. You'll get lost. So, There's a scene early on where Ted is at a strip club and he's chatting with the stripper and she says that her name is Tracy. And then the Bob Saget voiceover says, and that, kids, is How I Met Your Mother. And the kids are like, what?
Because that's the only audio/video clip they had of the kids. They should have got a bunch of blanket reactions that they could use for other stuff, but instead you'll see that, 1,000 times.
Boy, that person sure has gotten him or herself into a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
Yes. So, then he's like, just kidding. But as a result, we, the fans, who were overanalyzing the show because we loved it so much because it was a good show before it went back in time and destroyed itself, we, the fans, were like, oh, so the mother is named Tracy because otherwise the kids would have known that joke didn't work.
Yes.
So unofficially, fans just started calling the mother Tracy. And the showrunners were like, well, I guess her name is Tracy. Hey, look at that! The fans felt a way about things, and you realized it would be best to go with it instead of destroying everything. Although, to be fair, they did destroy everything with the episode No Tomorrow. This is an episode where Ted goes to a St. Patrick's Day party and is just a total ass. And there's a moment where he, bumps into someone and is like, hey, oh, sorry, and they cross paths. It's just a throwaway moment. I don't think she even says anything. She's an extra, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people theorized that that was the mother because we know the mother was at that party, but Ted didn't meet her that night.
Okay.
And so that was just a thing. People had people, including myself, I say people like I didn't mean myself, had screenshots of that one moment and that was the mother before Kristen Milotti was introduced. And in the episode of the last season where we see what's been going on for the last 9 years for Tracy,
Mm-hmm.
we see her at that party and we see that moment happen and it's not her. Specifically, they specifically called out, nope, that wasn't Tracy, because they did want to destroy everything in that moment. Speaking of destroying everything,
Barney and his stupid baby. I'm sorry, baby, it's not your fault. You're more...
Hey, stupid babies need the most care.
It's the baby's not stupid. What the baby represents is stupid, which is that all Barney needed to do to fix his personality is have a kid. And that's why Robin was wrong for him, because she couldn't have a kid and therefore fix him. Hey, how does this show feel about infertility?
Yeah, a lot of people have felt like this show was really gross in that there was a really powerful episode where Robin, who has always been child-free by choice and never wanted kids, has kind of a thing when she realizes that she's infertile, and it's not that she wanted to have kids, but being told she can't, it has an emotional impact on her. It makes her feel feelings, right?
Doors closing even if it's not one you ever intended to walk through.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that Ted goes and you know what's funny? We haven't actually said why we hate this episode so much yet. We haven't actually said it out loud.
Should we just talk about it here?
Should we spoil this 10-year thing?
Yeah, 5 minutes before we were about to anyway.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the thing that's gross about this is that the mother dies. The mother dies and the kids are like, hey, Dad, why don't you go fuck Aunt Robin? Now that Mom's... Why don't you go out and bone Aunt Robin now that you have successfully procreated, the thing you intended to do? Now that your broodmare is gone, go plow Aunt Robin.
Right, because he could never really be with Robin long term because he wanted kids and she did not. And then it's the same thing with Barney. Barney never wanted kids either, but once he had one, it was life-changing, and that couldn't have happened if he had stayed with Robin.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
It's really awful, and... Honestly, I know a lot of people are mad that they killed the mother. I don't like that either. But the thing is, that could have been a solid ending by itself.
Yeah.
Tracy's death being the impetus for the friend group coming back together. It's dark as fuck. I wouldn't care for it because, dear Lord, why would you put Tracy through all of this? But it's an ending that makes sense. It would land probably. I wouldn't be thrilled, but it would land.
Mm-hmm.
And endings are supposed to be kind of sad. Like maybe said in Arrested Development, it's good. Gets everyone all sad before graduation. I like the alternate ending better. I think the alternate ending's better. But if the show had just killed the mother, I don't think people would have had the negative reaction they had to it.
Well, because we all knew the mother was dead, too. I mean, we all suspected that the mother was dead.
There's been a lot of hints that the mother is no longer with us.
Well, especially in the episode that I mentioned, the Robots versus Wrestlers episode. Not that one, sorry. The Time Travelers episode.
Mm-hmm.
He talks to his kids and he's like, but if I knew then, if I could go back to that moment in time, you know what I would do. I would run 10 blocks to where your mother was living. And I would tell her, hey, I'm not going to meet you for another 6 months, but I love you and I want to spend as much time with you as I can. I want the next 6 months. Right? So when people saw that ending, they were like, oh, she's dead.
And there's been some other stuff. There's been
that
other
was
stuff.
the big one, but yeah.
That was the big one, but there's been a lot of stuff hinting that the mother is probably dead. Although it makes the kids a lot bigger assholes when they're all like, oh, Dad, yeah, sure, tell us how you met Mom. If the mom's dead, that's kind of an asshole reaction to your dad wanting to talk about your dead mom.
Yeah. I was going to say it's been 6 years since she died, but yeah. Because she dies this year.
Yeah.
She dies in 2024.
Yeah. Like, I know it's been 6 years, but like, no. No, especially since you two were pretty young when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
You would want to hear everything about your mom. Probably not the thousands of women your dad boned on the path to meeting your mom.
Which is the story he told.
Yeah, there's actually a really funny, it was a Comic-Con teaser for the last season where they got David Henry and whoever the girl was back.
Uh-huh.
And they filmed a fake thing where it was them wearing like shredded up versions of the clothes they were wearing and they're like, what the fuck Dad, I haven't been off this couch in 9 years. Like,
yes.
Why are you telling us about every random skank you boned before meeting Mom? I missed school. I missed graduation.
They do actually make a couple of meta jokes about that in the show proper. Like, after a particularly wild night, Ted will say something about, someday when he has kids, he won't tell them about this night. And then it's Bob Saget's voiceover being like, oops, sorry, kids. So, it has now been long enough, and they've had kids, and they're still not married, that Ted feels like he has to re-propose.
Honestly, I really love this scene. Like, we've been saying a lot of horrible things about Ted because he's kind of a monster, but like...
Every scene with Kristen Milotti in it is gold, though.
It's so good, and the two have this, like, easy, natural chemistry, and, like, you get why people are like, no, Ted, lock this down immediately, you will never do better than this woman.
Also, it's what you were talking about them just living, like, it being about the life that they led together, as opposed to a big wedding.
Yeah.
And ending on a big wedding. They were planning that huge wedding in France, but, life got in the way. He's like, hey, let's get married on Thursday. Let's go to the courthouse and get married. And he reproposes, and she says yes. And they decide that that's what they're going to do. They're going to get married at the courthouse on a Thursday. Which, by the way, courthouse weddings fucking rule.
Yes.
Whoa, I just realized, next week we're talking about 30 Rock, which also has an awesome courthouse wedding.
It does.
So at the bar before the wedding, because I guess they're pre-gaming before the wedding, Barney is so tired because he has a kid now.
He wants to go home at 9:00.
And then, because he has to be a misogynistic creep, even after he's learned to not be a misogynistic creep, he goes up to two, young women and is like, hey, your clothes are slutty. Put on more clothes and think about your lives. And it's like...
He's a good
Fuck
person.
you. Yeah. Fuck you.
Woof.
But then Robin shows up. She's here for the wedding. Everybody's excited.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Colby Smuthers and Neil Patrick Harris really wanted Robin and Barney to get together.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And
he's gay and they got really good chemistry.
They talked in interviews about how they would kind of give each other longing or flirtatious looks when nothing else was directed of them, specifically to build that storyline, even if there was no,
It's like how Lisa Kudrow and Matt LeBlanc tried to
They did the same thing, yeah.
They apparently, Joey and Phoebe were sleeping with each other for long stretches of Friends, and they wouldn't ever let them actually do it for whatever reason, but
Lisa Kudrow and Matt LeBlanc headcanoned that, and they played their characters like that.
Yeah.
So, Robin is back, and the looks that she's giving Barney, I feel like it's pretty clear they're going to get together again at the end of this. And Robin is going to reveal that she has an anchor job in New York now, so she's not traveling the world anymore. She's moving up. She's going to be like the next Walter Cronkite. So
It felt weird that she was a traveling reporter.
she was a world correspondent. She was like Christian Amanpour. Christine Amanpour.
I don't know. It doesn't really feel like that was her kind of news, but okay, whatever.
No, it's not the kind that we ever saw her do. She only did like fluff pieces, but it's what she wanted to be doing. And actually, there is a plot line where she switches from being on air to being a producer for a world news, like CNN style network, specifically because she wants to get into more serious news.
Marshall takes a brief moment to annoy the two young people drinking in the bar behind them by being like, "Hey, you kids know what happened here? Everything." And the two kids are like, "Please just let us have fun. Please don't get your gross nostalgia all over us."
Okay, so this is the moment where this scene with a slightly different voiceover is the alternate ending that's on the DVD.
Mm-hmm.
So everything we've talked to up to now is the same, with the exception of the ending. So Lily gives a toast. She's like, "It's been a long road for you to get here."
Oh, thanks, Lily. What, are you graduating?
Well, because he's been through so much heartbreak. It was a long and difficult road. And Ted's voiceover says, "It was a long and difficult road, but I'm glad it was hard, because if it hadn't been so hard to get to you, I might not have realized how important you were." Something bullshit like that.
And the alternate ending has a much better version.
So the alternate ending version is, it was a long road, but it wasn't hard. And it was just life. And it's such a better sentiment.
It's such a good speech.
And then,
Smash cut to her dying.
so the show, as it aired,
Yes.
smash cuts to her dying in the hospital.
Yes.
The show, in the alternate ending, smash cuts to him meeting her. And then that's the end. He meets the mother, the end. So, and the scene where he meets the mother is in this show, so...
I think we kind of talked over it when it happened way earlier.
No, we see him going up to talk to her, but we don't see what he says to her until later on. We haven't seen it yet.
Oh, wait, was all the TM Ted Mosby, was that just in the alternate version?
No, it's in this version, but it hasn't happened yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you sure?
I'm 100% positive.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, she's dying now.
Yeah, she's dying. She's like, "Ted, I'm dying." And he's like, "You sure are." And she's like, "Don't bone Robin after I die." And he's like, "Shh, honey. Shh, it's okay. Save your strength."
And then we cut from her dying to him going up to meet her, right? So in the alternate ending, we just don't get this like weird smash cut she's dying scene. We just get the scene where he goes up to talk to her. And the whole story of how they met, there's a thing with her yellow umbrella because she's got this very distinctive yellow umbrella. She left it behind at the St. Patrick's Day party that I've mentioned earlier, and he picked it up. And so then he had it for several years, and then he left it behind when he was dating briefly the mother's roommate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how she got her umbrella back, even though it was this weird thing where she didn't have the other side of the story, where she was like, "I lost my umbrella at a St. Patrick's Day party, and 2 years later it showed up in my apartment."
And he points out that it's his umbrella because it has his initials on it, TM, Ted Mosby, which that doesn't mean anything. You could have put your initials on it. In fact, you probably did put your initials on it, when you found
Right.
the umbrella. Or alternatively, the umbrella is just a registered symbol of something.
Well, she says, wait, is that the joke he was making?
It's entirely possible.
Until this very second, 10 years later, it didn't strike me that was the joke. Like, maybe he was making a joke. Because then she says, no, those are my initials, Tracy McConnell. And this is the first and only time that we hear the mother's name. That's like kind of a thing they were doing.
Yeah.
But the thing is that they're both like dorks in the same way. That's why they're well matched. The way that Holly was the same kind of dork that Michael was on The Office, and that's why they were well matched.
Yeah.
So if they were both pointing out the trademark logo and being like, "That's me, Ted Mosby," and she's like, "No, it's me, Tracy McConnell," that makes them even more well matched. That makes this meet cute even cuter, and everything that follows that much more fucked up. Let's talk about what follows.
Yeah, because this is a really cute meet cute. It's a little schmoopy, but you know what? It's a sitcom. It's fine. It's a rom-com. It's fine. Like, you can be a little schmoopy. Also, the insane amount of mood whiplash here. Because it cuts from that to old Ted being sad that his wife died.
Okay, this scene is so awkward because now we're at the scene that they shot with the kids.
And obviously, adult Ted can't be in the same room as the kids because they shot this footage forever ago.
So they just keep doing shot, reverse shot, and it's...
Which is just stylistically awful. It is an awful way to frame something.
Also, the kids are not playing off of anyone, and their lines sound so stilted and weird.
Yeah.
Like, weirdly delivered, not just weird what they're saying, which, as we have alluded... What they're saying is, clearly you told this story because it's the story you've been telling is how you're in love with Robin and you want to go be with her and you want us to be okay with it. And we are. So go get Robin. It's fine. It's fine.
It kind of reminds me of one of those, like, video games. Like,
yes.
What was it, like, Bullets and or Buckles and Bullets or something from
that Community episode.
Yeah, one of those like VHS games where it's basically a choose your own adventure, but you have to like put in different tapes and fast forward depending on what you want to happen.
Well, you hit play on the tape, and then like there would be long sections where nothing was happening, and then someone would pop on the screen and be like, "All right, now there's a robbery, so wherever you are, take shelter," or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
just the stylistic part of it, like. It's awful. It is genuinely an awful bit.
But the content! Somehow even worse.
Clearly this story wasn't about Mom at all. Clearly you had a giant boner for Aunt Robin. And it's been 6 years. We're all fine that Mom's dead and Mom would want you to bone Aunt Robin. So go bone Aunt Robin, our adult father.
Yeah, so he runs out to her apartment in the rain. And he shows up all old.
With a stupid troll penis.
Smurf penis. It's a Smurf penis.
Smurf penis, yeah.
So during their courtship, he stole a blue French horn for her. And then it was like the symbol of their relationship.
And it gets pointed out how dumb that is later in the show. Later on the show spends not a small amount of time dunking on it as this iconic object.
Yeah, well, so he shows up with the blue French horn at her window, and she sees him out the window, and she smiles.
And she has a bunch of dogs because they clearly wrote this back in season 1.
When having a bunch of dogs was her personality trait. Yeah, and, but you know what, I also think they have a bunch of dogs to establish for us very clearly that she's permanently in New York, because she couldn't have dogs, so she was traveling. Okay, so I want to talk about the blue French horn, the symbolism of the blue French horn.
Is it the blue balls you get after watching this show and hoping to ejaculate to a successful ending? I'm sorry, that metaphor fell off the tracks immediately.
No, I want to contrast it with the symbol of the mother.
Okay, yellow umbrella.
Which is the yellow umbrella.
It's a warm color, protects you. It's not a blue, cold color that annoys you.
And also, he stole the French horn for Robin. The yellow umbrella he found at St. Patrick's Day, and it found its way back to the mother through him. Like
that is a really good contrast.
Yeah, the difference between the way he was always trying to force it with Robin, and then the way it would just so naturally flowed with the mother.
But this is the ending you chose, and it ruins the rest of the show.
The before of the show.
The before of the show. Yes, the before of the show. All of the Robin and Barney stuff, it just...
Ugh.
And that was so well done, and they took their time with it, and it felt natural. It just fit.
It just fit. Okay, so we said Ted is standing outside in the rain holding up the blue French horn, and Robin is staring out the window at him, and then we get the title card. So I want to start our segments for this show.
Okay.
And my first segment is on a scale of Ross and Rachel and Friends
Mm-hmm.
to Walter White on Breaking Bad. How much do you think this ending is actually going to change the status quo? By which I mean, is this where we're ending forever? Ted and Robin are together and they are a couple until they both die and are buried side by side? Or
Walter White style.
Walter White style? Or does this all get reset 10 minutes later and Rachel goes, fuck, I should have gone to Paris?
Yeah, this is full Ross and Rachel. There's no way Ted is going to stay with Robin. They are still fundamentally different people. This is 100% not going to work out. They're going to awkwardly date for like a week, and then Robin is never going to see any of them ever again.
Okay, see, mine is even less so than yours.
Yeah?
Because mine is, Robin smiles down at him and goes, Ted, what are you doing? Barney's here.
Oh.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yours is better.
Yeah. So my second segment is, if you were, and it's a little weird for this one because we've kind of been doing it as we went, but if you were going to rewrite the ending, how would you do it?
Okay. The big thing I would have, I would bring back Robots vs. Wrestlers. We'd have that. I mean, honestly, it would end on the scene where Ted and the mother meet. That would be the last scene.
Mm-hmm.
But the bits leading up to it would be seeing the future, seeing the friend group drift apart, but always coming back for Robots vs. Wrestlers, and then it would show them all on Lily and Marshall's stupid porch when they were old.
Oh, God! They didn't do the porch! Okay, let me tell the listeners. There's a recurring thing with Ted's girlfriends where Lily talks about how she imagines that someday in the far future, she and Marshall and Ted and whoever Ted ends up married to will be sitting on their front porch, like, playing canasta, which they all have to learn how to play because no one knows how to play it yet, and, you know, whiling away their golden years. And whenever Ted's dating a girl, she tries to think if she can picture that girl being on the porch with her. And this is a thing that comes up multiple times throughout the series, and we didn't get that scene!
Yeah, that... Like, I would keep the ending being him meeting the mother, but I would have a porch scene before that.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is a huge miss. And mostly I was just thinking about what I would excise, like...
Barney having a kid.
Barney having a kid. Well, I would have excised the whole divorce, but...
Honestly, I would have kept the divorce, but I would have had them get back together.
10 years ago when I saw it, I hated the divorce. You have talked me around to liking it. I especially like the idea of them kind of getting together and being like a Dr. Cox Jordan style couple.
Yeah, they got divorced and it fixed their relationship.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things I really like about Dr. Cox and Jordan. Especially, they kind of drop it in the last season where Dr. Cox starts wearing his ring again and she gets mad at him and he's like, I'm sorry, but our relationship is basically that we're married and it's just easier this way.
Uh-huh.
And it bothers me because there's a really good episode the season before that where they try getting remarried and like their relationship immediately falls apart and they get divorced again and then their relationship is good again. So I didn't love the Dr. Cox wearing the ring and being like, we're essentially married, I'm just leaning into it.
Yeah.
But like, no, that's totally how I see Barney and Robin. They get divorced, then a few years down the line they get back together again. And they have a really good relationship, but they never get married again.
There's also this like random line that Jordan says on Scrubs that I think about a lot, where she's really mad at him and she tells him that if he doesn't shape up, she's going to stop having sex with him and start making love. And I can just I can hear Robin saying that. That seems like a thing Robin would say to Barney.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. We needed a porch scene. We needed to take out the thing about Barney having a kid because that was just gross and misogynistic. And, and not kill off Tracy. And then all 6 of them on a porch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they can be, the way Seinfeld did the thing in their last episode where they were sitting in the jail cell in the same configuration that they sit in the booth.
Mm-hmm.
We could have everyone sitting on the porch in the same configuration that they sit in the booth at McLaren's.
Yeah. Call us television from like 20 years ago. I guess like 10 years ago.
Literally 10 years ago.
Literally
It
10
ended
years
in
ago.
2014.
10 years ago this very night.
Okay, and speaking of 10 years later, that brings me to my last segment, which is, okay, it's 10 years later. You're going to revive the It's not always going to be 10 years later, but for this one. It's 10 years later, you're going to revive the show. How are you bringing these characters back? What's the show you're going to do?
Okay.
So are we assuming we went with one of our alternate endings and not the Tracy dies? Or do we have to do the Tracy dies?
So you're tied to what happened, but
Okay.
but remember, Will and Grace and Roseanne both decided to just ignore that and go forward. So that's on the table.
Yeah, that's true. They retconned the endings really hard for both those shows. I bet they did that for Mad About You too.
Oh, I meant Mad About You too. Yeah, I meant to throw that one in there. They did. They did
Yeah.
retcon that.
Did anyone see the
No.
sequel series? Like
It was on like the Clock channel or something random.
Yeah, it was on like
Whattimeisitnow.com.
Seriously, which is unfortunately now where Miracle Workers is, which is so sad because I want to watch the new season so badly.
You can't even get it on DVD, which I was gonna do.
Yeah, and you can't watch the old ones because I got super into the mood to watch the Old West season again, but I'm sorry. Okay, 10 years into the future, we can retcon it. You know what? They're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Tracy beating breast cancer.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so clearly an alternate universe, but one where, there will be an offhanded joke about Ted panicking at one point and running up to Robin with the red horn. Blue horn. Yeah. Robin and Barney are they're not secretly dating again, they're casually dating again. Let's see. I guess Lily, you know what? It's going to take place in the suburbs. I'm sorry. It's going to be a next step thing. I know it's kind of cliche, but Lily and Marshall and Ted and Tracy's kids are going to be going to school together.
Sure.
Just for consolidation of purpose. I don't want Robin's career to be in a slump again. Robin switched to an all-digital news format
Okay.
that she can do there
Mhm.
in that town.
Wait, in that town you mean by New York?
Well, I mean, they're in the suburbs, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, but you
Or
can.
they're in, like, Long Island.
Yeah, you can live in Long Island and work in the city.
Yeah, but, I mean, would Robin...
I think she would.
Oh, no, the impetus... Barney and Robin's apartment burns down,
Okay.
and they end up moving in with,
Oh, okay. On Long Island. Okay.
yeah.
Which is interesting because remember, Barney's long-lost father also lives on Long Island, so you could definitely get some storylines there.
Yeah, and John Lithgow's still alive.
And he's still acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the impetus for picking it up would be, they're celebrating Tracy's 10 years of beating breast cancer. Robin and Barney have a little thing about, it's nice to go to Long Island every once in a while, but I wouldn't want to live there, as they're heading back to their apartment, which has burned down while they were gone because Barney's big screen TV finally exploded or whatever.
Yeah. There you go.
No, Robin accidentally set up a magnifying glass in front of it, and the light got focused into one point, and that set the entire apartment ablaze.
That works too. I like that.
And then they end up staying because they realize that they have no other friends. I'm sorry, what would you...
Are Lily and Marshall not in this?
No, they are.
Oh, okay.
They're not exactly... They're in the same neighborhood as...
Oh, right, because they moved too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all in Long Island!
Yeah,
oh.
no, yeah, it's all in Long Island.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. They all kind of end up there. Okay.
Yeah. And they don't know that Barney and Robin are hooking up again, so Barney stays, with Marshall and Lily, and
Nice.
Robin's... Or other way around, I guess, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I like it.
And they're like, I don't know if we should tell them because they're going to be all dramatic and weird about it. And, I don't want to keep it a secret, but, they're going to get weird if we let them know that we're hooking up again. And then, it's sort of the relationship coming out again.
Yeah. All right. Okay, to tell you mine.
Yeah.
You remember Interview with the Vampire?
I do remember Interview with a Vampire.
Okay. So, Interview with the Vampire is told from Louis' point of view.
Yes.
And then Lestat is like, no, that's nonsense. That is not how it happened at all. And then we get the vampire Lestat. All right. How I Met Your Mother is explicitly from Ted's point of view. And in fact, the show plays with the fact that he's an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
And Barney is a trash human who's also probably a rapist from some things we've seen.
Yeah. Definitely a human trafficker.
It's not good.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, including myself, who want to love Barney, have said Ted was playing up how terrible Barney was to make himself look like less of a douche, since he's kind of a douche in the whole show.
Also probably to scare his daughter a little bit.
Probably. So, like, we're all just like, unreliable narrator, you know?
Hey, you know your Uncle Barney? He's actually a sexual predator, and so is every man out there.
So my show is like the Vampire Lestat to this show's Interview with the Vampire, where it is told from Barney's point of view. It's 10 years later, and Barney is an influencer who does video essays unpacking toxic masculinity. And one of the ways he does that is by telling stories of him from the past when he was a douche and the terrible things he was doing. So we're getting the flashbacks of his past.
That's interesting. I wasn't entirely sold on the Barney becoming that self-aware, but that does seem like a good story engine.
It's more like that's the frame story for him to be telling stories of his past. And of course he's not entirely reformed, right? Because he'll we'll come back to him and he'll be like forgetting that he was supposed to be telling how this is a bad story because he's actually kind of awesome in that story, right? Like he's not totally reformed. And then we will see that in the future he and Robin are back together but not married. And so my frame story would go from... Okay, so this is interesting.
Okay.
Robin, the impetus for this show is Marshall and Lily getting engaged. Yes. And Ted starts questioning his life. So the impetus for the reboot is it starts at the moment where Ted and Tracy get engaged, and which... For
the second time.
No, for the first time. Yeah, no, for the second time. And I'm gonna have to fudge the timeline a little bit, but we can do that in revivals. I'm gonna have to fudge the timeline a little bit so that reproposal happens right around the time of the divorce. And so that's Barney's impetus to be like, what am I doing with his life? And that's like when he starts trying to unpack things, and then the stories will be going from that point forward.
So you'd have like two current running stories. You'd have the present timeline and then the past flashbacks. It would be like Once Upon a Time. I said that I felt like my tone seemed dismissive there, but no, I was genuinely... No.
It's we'll see more of 2030 than we do for this show, but the bulk of the future stuff will just be Barney telling the story. Most of it will be the flashback stories.
Oh, okay.
And we'll kind of see we'll see the story of how Robin and Barney like came back together to be the couple that they are. Like we'll see what their relationship is like.
Oh, the flashbacks start. Okay, the flashbacks start at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, well, you wouldn't have very much to work with if he starts from there.
Also, I feel like we're gonna do like a little meta Doogie Howser thing with him at the computer. Yeah. Which, by the way, How I Met Your Mother made the Doogie Howser joke, but like I feel like this is a good place to put Neil Patrick Harris.
Did he ever show up on the reboot of that show?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, because I'm like...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I thought you meant How I Met Your Father. No, he didn't show up on the Doogie Howser reboot. He showed up on the How I Met Your Mother reboot.
Embarrassing. It is embarrassing to have a reboot of Doogie Howser that does not have Doogie Howser in it. Neil Patrick Harris cannot possibly be that hard to get for stuff.
He's busy. He's got kids now.
All right, I guess that'll about do it, huh?
Yeah, that's gonna do it. Thank you for coming along with us, as I think is now clear to myself, and also Max, I think, and probably you as well. These mini-series are going to be big excuses for us to go off on lots of tangents, so I hope you'll come on the ride with us.
Yeah, it's gonna go a lot of places. We spent so much time talking about stuff that wasn't this.
That's okay. That's fine.
We spent an hour longer talking about it than the episode itself was.
Yes. And next time we're going to talk about the finale of 30 Rock. In case it wasn't clear, this was the bad one.
Yeah. This was the bad one, and 30 Rock is the good one, and should be shorter, not only because we're just talking about a 20-minute episode that time.
Nope.
Oh, is that also a two-parter?
That one is also a two-parter.
Okay, never mind. Although, are we going to be more focused on it because it's good?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, you'll see how it shakes out.
Also, I have lots to say about like the state of television. All right, so...
yeah, that'll about do it.
Yeah. Our show is partially listener-supported. If you want to be one of those supporters, you should head over to our website, www.welcometotelevision.net, and click on our Patreon link. We'd like to thank our current $5 and above patrons, Beryl, Patricia, Rosa, Ryan, Maricruz, Benjamin, Kate, Jen, Dan, Anthony, and Daniel.
If you'd like to support the show in other ways, you could always rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find the show.
If you want to talk about the show and how terrible this finale was, or if you want to talk about good episodes of this show, like 3 Days of Snow, oh my god, that episode's amazing. You can email us at ilovetelevisionzines@gmail.com, or you can find us on Blue Sky at Welcome to Television.
So until next time, I'm Max.
And I'm Tina.
And this has been Welcome to the End.
Ooh, I don't know what our outro music is going to sound like yet.
Fallout noise, probably.